A magnanimous moment from Ben Roethlisberger, former starter of the Pittsburgh Steelers, admitting what I think many former players carry around in them. When you are the most recent great, whether you're part of the great team, you were the great player, there's always a level of tension. You want to support the team that you played for, but when that team wins a Super Bowl or when that team sprouts a great player at the position you played, you move a step down. You become forgotten. You become closer to irrelevant when the current edition of the team is producing great players, great results, great outcomes. And I think a lot of guys think that way. And I respect Ben Roethlisberger for admitting it.
Yeah, I do too. I'm with you there. It's the competitive nature. It's just not wanting your legacy to be forgotten so quickly, right? There's a lot of people that think that. A lot of players that think that. It's cool that Big Ben was cool enough to be honest about that. I'm sure it was mixed emotions for him and his family last year. And, closing the door. And, you talked about it earlier. Quarterbacks, players, they got great confidence in themselves. He starts still thinking, hey, wait, I could go out there and do that. And that's just not easy to deal with. So, cool for him for sharing that.
And so after 1 year, Kenny Pickett makes it all the way to number 25 on the Chris Sims top 40 quarterback countdown. He was the only rookie last year to make it. It was a down year for rookie quarterbacks. He was the only first-round quarterback in 2022. There were no second-rounders. The next they came was in round 3 with Matt Corral and Desmond Ridder and Malik Willis, not necessarily in that order. So what do we expect this year, and what did you see that got him to land, in an area where not as high as it could be, but obviously higher than he was last year.
Yeah, it's going in the right direction. It is. We need to see more, right? I got to see him grow as a player. The team's got to help him out a little bit too around him. They got offensive line issues, not running the ball all that great, all of that. That's the first thing that jumps out with you with Kenny Pickett. Mike, how many times last year did we talk about Kenny Pickett throwing the ball under pressure? Man, he is awesome in the pocket, and I'm about to get hit, but I see this guy going to get open. I'm going to anticipate it and put the ball here. The pocket's collapsing, no big deal. I'll stand in there and make the throw. He's a very good athlete, much better athlete than I thought he was going to be, and a better athlete than I even gave him credit for going into this process. Like you see there, the dude can play backyard football. He can do all of that, and why he was in the top 40 last year, and for those reasons, he was the most NFL ready, and he showed that. Him and Brock Purdy, of course, but Purdy had the 49ers and a little help there from a great offensive mind. But, Pickett, sees the field. He's tough. He's, like I said, throws great under pressure. He's extremely accurate in the 5 to 10 yard range, Mike. Some things he's got to improve on. He's got to improve on deep ball throwing and the power play throw, right? That's for sure. When he steps on the gas and really tries to throw the heater, he can lose control of the football. You can see the spin kind of all get messed up, and he lose a little accuracy there. That's certainly something he can improve on a little bit, and then maybe protecting himself a little bit better too, and not being so fearless in the pocket to where it leads to big hits and more concussions. But a lot of good from Kenny Pickett in year 1.
2 concussions last year, largely overlooked because Tua Tagovailoa became the guy who was associated with concussions because they happened in big settings, controversial circumstances, back injury when he was wobbling all over the place. But we didn't talk much about Pickett and his 2 concussions. He had one and came back, boom, right away. And I think it was like a Sunday night game when they were playing the Dolphins, because that was like kind of the dotted line comparison,
That's
if I
right.
recall correctly.
Right, you're right.
A chance I don't. But look, you need to protect yourself, even though he's larger than a Tua Tagovailoa. You still need to avoid taking those hits. One thing he's overcome, and he talked to Roethlisberger about this during the podcast appearance, hand size. And he admitted that multiple teams told him, you're off our draft board. I don't know why they're wasting their time talking to him if he was off the draft board. But we talked about size of Bryce Young. Now, his hands aren't an issue. He's got 9 3/4 inch hands, I believe. Kenny Pickett is south of 9. There are teams, and this is a matter of personnel evaluation analytics, and it's been around for a long time. If you're below a certain height, below a certain weight, your hand size is below a certain measurement, you're off the board. We're not going to play that game. We're not going to take that chance. Yes, there's a chance you'll still be good, But we've decided that's the cutoff.
Yeah.
Below that, we're not rolling the dice.
Right.
We'd rather roll the dice on somebody who's got measurables that fall within our preferred range, and we're just not going to take you if you're under 9 inches. And it still is glaring.
Yeah.
When you see his hands on the football.
It's small.
With his body, because he's a pretty tall guy,
Right.
it makes smaller hands stand out. And any photo I see with those white gloves on the football, it is a little conspicuous.
Yeah.
His hands just don't seem to be as big as they should be. And look, is it an issue? It wasn't last year. I think it's only an issue when you're running around holding the ball, just like we talked about earlier trying to dunk. The smaller your hands are, the more likely that ball's coming out. Dante Culpepper had small hands for his size.
Right.
And he had a lot of fumbles.
Yeah.
That ball's more likely to come out. You're going to lose grip of it if your hand's smaller.
Definitely.
It's simple. It's just basic.
Right. Yeah. Now, he's been playing with this glove for a long time, right? So he's used to it, too. That's why I didn't make it as big a deal as maybe I would have normally, right? That's a small hand. But you do see it, Mike. You know, again, like, he doesn't have the hand all the time to do this stuff, right? We see Mahomes and Josh Allen, and they just can almost flick it. You don't see a lot of flick it type of throws from him because the hand is not big enough just to manipulate the ball that way. Also, I see the glove affecting things. Like, the glove is good for him, obviously. He does well. But the glove, as I know, when you try to flick it, or sometimes when you try to grip it a little tighter and I'm going to put some heat on this one, it can get stuck in your hand. You talk about the glove all the time. It's almost not fair. You can have throws where, you know, you grip it a little tighter and the ball actually kind of sticks to your hand to a degree and it doesn't come out the way. And it might be a wobble or a duck. You see some of those on tape from him. But, you know, all in all, he knows how to control the football. And life wasn't as easy for him as a guy like Brock Purdy in San Francisco. I mean, Kenny Pickett had to make one NFL throw after another. When you break it down, it's a lot of, you know, tight window slant, back shoulder throw. He showed a clutch factor to run the 2-minute offense that I like. You know, there's a lot of good there from Kenny Pickett. I don't know if he can ever be a superstar, but I think he can be a real good quarterback for a long time.
You know, we had that graphic up earlier in the show of the odds to win the Super Bowl, and the Steelers, I don't believe, were on it. There's just something about the Steelers in a year when the expectations are low and they're not being discussed and they aren't really a team anyone is circling. And I've
never heard you say this. Never heard it. Never.
Yeah, probably.
Why don't you just jump ship?
I'm telling you, I never give up on
it.
If
we counted through the year,
it's
right?
Too late.
And
it's too
like
late.
if we went through the year and said positive things said about the Vikings or the Steelers, it would be like 1,000 to 100 on positives versus the Steelers and the Vikings. But you're a Vikings fan. I don't get it. Just you live there. Change it. Jump ship. Forget it. We'll give it up on the Vikings. Come on. Move on.
Yeah, it's too late for that. It's like giving up on your family. Once you have really, and that's why we all love sports and we have passion for sports. We don't just randomly trip into, hey, gee, this is an interesting game. I'll watch it, even though I have no interest in who ultimately prevails in the game. You're going to have a rooting interest. It's natural. It's normal. You turn on a game, and that's what's going to happen. And I've lived around Pittsburgh my whole life. I had to be different. I had to be a contrarian. What a shock that made me to some
shocker.
when I was a little kid. Everybody, you got to be a Steelers fan. Well, I don't want to be a Steelers fan. Why? Because you're telling me I have to be. I'm not going to do what you tell me to do. I'm going to do what I want to do. What a dumbass I was, because I would have really enjoyed the 70s. And you know what, folks? You wouldn't be dealing with me because I probably never would have tripped into this business if I had gotten my fandom satisfied in the 70s. Instead, it was frustrated. Hey, Pete, Pete, it's not funny. Pete thinks he's funny. Pete's telling jokes now while I'm trying to talk. Hey, Pete. So anyway, it's too late for that. Hi, it's Mike Florio. Thanks for watching PFT on YouTube. Hit subscribe for the latest news and analysis from Pro Football Talk.